When I'm engaged in the great American pastime, making Sonic OCs, or original Sonic the Hedgehog fan characters to the layman, I want my creation to stand out, so I'll do something the games haven't, like this octopus OC I designed. I call it Tentacles the Squid. Why do I call him that? Because naming him the octopus is what a normie would do. I'll explain to you some of my most inventive designs. That way you'll learn just how O your C's can be.
Coming to you from beautiful downtown Fortitude Valley, it's the Harry Gold Show, with your host, Harry Gold.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program. Previously, we regaled you with a cavalcade of completely and undoubtedly original Sonic OCs, as well as instructions on how to cook up your very own. Though we thoroughly covered the fundamentals, when it comes to fan art of anthropomorphic animals, there's always room to go further. I recommend checking that video out for more OCs and in-depth information. Link is in the description. But here's the clickbaity abridged version that waits till the end to tell you need to go pay for a shoddy webinar to find out the rest. Every Sonic character has a beach ball for a skull and a legume-esque body which comes under one standard skull unit in height. Arms are skull length, legs are longer, and their invariably gloved hands are 2/3 of a skull long. Many of their eyes are Siamese twins, and like that one Defunctland video that has been in my recommendeds for a month, the delineated muzzle is peculiarly omnipresent. The games don't have any dog characters yet, so using these pointers you could construct a perfectly serviceable canine, like this OC of mine. But maybe you're not satisfied with your character receding anonymously into the pulsating throng of Technicolor hedgehogs with which the internet is awash. Maybe you want to do something a little more interesting, something that really stands out. Well, the Harry Gold Show is here to help. It's easier to devise a new hedgehog than, say, an elephant, because sentient pincushions already dominate the franchise's cast. We can easily see what they're supposed to look like and base a new design on that. Then any mammal that's even remotely analogous is, as a result, not too hard to figure out. If it's got a button nose, like our dog OC from earlier, it slots into the template with little difficulty. And sometimes, even if it really doesn't, they just kind of force it anyway. But the more incompatible the animal, the trickier this gets. Let's say we really do want to make an elephant. We now have to fill in gaps where information is lacking. What would a trunk or tusks look like on a Sonic character? The best thing to do here is search for equivalents or similarities. We haven't seen tusks, but we have seen horns. And drawing a trunk is not entirely dissimilar to the way you might draw a beak. Sonic Forces was the game where Sega finally noticed that DeviantArt exists, and blessed the fanbase with an exceptionally unexceptional character creator that allows you to play as the world's blandest OC. It can be a hedgehog, cat, bird, rabbit, bear, dog, or wolf. The last two aren't otherwise represented in the Sonic games at all, and there are more devoted fans of deep vein thrombosis than Bark the Polar Bear. But even better than that, Forces brought us concept art for even more Sonic-style animals that didn't make the cut. Critters like Koala Harris, NFT, Porky Pig, Literal Cowboy, been there done that, and Tumblr. But did you catch it? Those designs furnished us with something truly game-changing. Nostrils! Around these parts, most have a nub of graphite for a proboscis, and the rest have nothing at all. Vector is the only fella to have distinct nose holes, and now with these other doodles on hand, we have a decent idea of what canonical nasal passages should look like in the Sonic realm. So if we wanted to make a reptile character, even though the franchise is woefully short on reference material, Vector and Espio making for a pretty pathetic case study, we can incorporate the other animal information we've just seen to dream up something like this dragon OC I created. If you really want an atypical OC, the Sonic games have never done anything aquatic, but we can only give an educated guess as to how this might be handled. The Team Sonic body structure is pretty rigid and generally takes priority over the anatomy of the source creature. That's why Sonic and Knuckles bear about as much resemblance to their prickly namesakes as a Hannah Gadsby routine does to comedy. Maybe if you beheaded Knux and gave that feet, you'd be getting warmer. But more than the Tasmanian Devil approach to likeness, You'll notice that Charmy B and his inexplicably absent The doesn't have 6 limbs. Rouge has wings as well as, rather than instead of, human-like arms. And the birds would rather forego flight altogether than commit a fashion faux pas like public glovelessness. So if we were to make an OC that was a fish, or a dolphin, or a whale, I think it's a pretty safe bet to say they'd have arms and legs regardless, which means it would largely come down to giving him the right tail. While most of the Blue Man's group are constructed with a beanie torso that's broader on top, there are exceptions. The first is Age. Ages are weird in Sonic. Tails builds and flies aircraft at age 8. Amy is fueled solely by lust at age 12, and 20-year-old Vector co-founded a functional private detective agency with Charmy, age 6. So while age does not seem to have any meaningful impact on these characters' lives,
or the internet's willingness to put them in compromising situations,
it does make a difference to how they're built. The younger characters not only have a smaller body in proportion to their head and hands, as well as shorter limbs overall, they have their torso inverted, wider at the hips and narrower at the shoulders. Exception number 2 is for the ladies. Last time we talked about how to go about making a female Sonic character, but we didn't really demonstrate. You'll find the girls of the Sonic world are structured a little differently to their male counterparts, some more different than others. The body tends to be a little less pinto bean, a little more peanut. Their shoulders are a fraction less broad, though the guys aren't exactly built like Dave Bautista to begin with, and the torso cinches in at the waist and kicks out again at the hips. You know, girl shape. Beyond that though, the rest of the proportions are pretty indistinguishable from the guys, as you can see in this OC. Then you've also got the Rouge the Bat body type, which is moving away from Lola Bunny and towards Jessica Rabbit. It introduces the concept of cleavage into the Sonic canon, so thanks for opening that can of worms, Sega.
They did what Nintendo don't, alright. Try to give kids the hots for a flying rat.
There are a few more things to note. Unless your name rhymes with gamey toes, eyes never join in the middle on the Sonic ladies. They have a clear preference for defined sockets. As mentioned last time, eyelashes are non-negotiable. They all have either 1 or 2. The eyes are also all rounded. None of them have the baked-in angry eyes we see in some of our Sonic men. Additionally, they universally lack the substantial eyebrow lobes of our more masculine Sonic folk.
Bro, are you brow shaming?
Hey now, we don't endorse unrealistic beauty standards for giant-headed underage rodent women around here.
But do you really want a chick with brow meat so dummy thick it claps when she gets mad?
Here's the other major one we didn't get to go into last time. In the world of Sonic, we've got a small but hard-to-miss contingent of characters with unusual body types. While the minimal structural variation across most of the gang is usually based on whether their favourite movie is The Matrix or Mean Girls, or whether they've ever lived in the same house as a VCR, we do have a few big characters. For example, Big, the character. None of them have exactly the same body type as each other either. Vector is somewhat brawny, Storm is very bulky, and Big is just morbidly big-boned. But between them all, we have sufficient material to figure out how to build a new one. Larger, bulkier limbs with big old ham hands are a common feature. They're also a pack of pinheads. Not only are their coconuts shorter and wider, but the torso is about 4 times the height of the skull. Though Storm and Vector are clearly not quite cut from the same cloth, they do give us some idea of an archetypal broad-shouldered heavy, like this OC. Small circular eyes are unique to a couple of these guys. Big also features an unusual jowly little mouth exclusive to his design.
So we're going to pinch both.
Remember, this isn't just a matter of arbitrarily copying Sega's homework either. We're looking for what will come off as authentic in our attempt to capture the feel of a Sonic character. So if a real Sonic team member has a given feature, it could theoretically help to make yours look convincing. While 2 of the heavy characters are designed around brawn, Big's body type, however, is not so much. He's built more like Grimace, or Baymax, or Lizzo.
So even with a small handful of character designs, or even unused concept work, we can figure out what makes an art style tick.
This is why we deliberately avoided making a human character. Quite aside from the fact that a literal 0 people care about making human Sonic OCs, the design style there has been completely inconsistent. Elise looks like she got lost on her way to Final Fantasy X and ended up in a Sonic game by mistake, and if Maria Robotnik wasn't adopted from a pan-dimensional orphanage, I'll eat my flex tape. That leaves us with Eggman alone. Now, the closer you adhere to what little info we've got, the less original or interesting it'll be. And the more you differ from it, the more of a shot in the dark a convincing pastiche will be.
Who knows what kind of ungodly monster we'd end up with. This is Google's attempt at translating the character bios that I got everyone's ages from earlier.
Real name? Sonic the Hedgehog. English name?
Sonic the Hedgehog!
I'm sick and sloppy. I like Mecha better than 3 meals. Emmy, a girl in love who chases Sonic everywhere, today and today. I love being free-spirited, and I really hate being bent. There is a high awareness that he must lead the team as a leader, but there may be places where he is saved by a team member with a wide bosom. Wild and sexy female bat.
Well, just come out and say it, why don't you? Let's play a game. I'll draw someone famous, and the first 3 people to guess who it is in the comments get a shout out when I tell you the answer in the next episode.
Congratulations to anyone whose guess last time was James Rolfe, the cantankerous consumer of electronic entertainment. Our Badger rocked and Danny Nolan was rolling, taking 1st and 2nd place respectively. Then we snapped a grainy out of focus photo of Non-Exists coming 3rd.
Well done everyone, thanks for playing.
This week's subject has a snub nose, or as Marvel Studios likes to call it, an every year at the Academy Awards nose. Their upper lip is so interminably long, an unsuspecting passerby could mistake it for a YouTube documentary. And then their chin continues so far past their tight lipless mouth that they'd need a passport to nod. Now who could this be?
If that face rings a bell, let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, why not subscribe and ring our bell too? But this has been the Harry Gold Show, so until next time, stay safe, and God bless.